Namaste friends, my name is Amit Garg. Welcome to my channel VedicAstro Amit. Today we'll talk about the upcoming eclipse, lunar eclipse coming on September 17th in US and 18th in India. Before we begin, thank you to all the members of YouTube channel, the paid subscribers, and then also to all the viewers. And if you're interested in consultations, you can get that at VedicAstroAmit.com. And also courses. So we have the academy, we have live courses going on, and you can also get the pre-recorded courses of your choice, lots of courses available. So let's get started. So we are in the eclipse season. This is going to be a lunar eclipse first. Eclipses always come in pairs. So solar followed by the lunar, or lunar followed by solar. And eclipses are extremely powerful because what's happening is Rahu or Ketu, they are engulfing the sun or the moon, depending on whether it's the solar eclipse or the lunar eclipse. So these are very powerful shifts. And the energy of the eclipse, it's not just that day happening. The energy of the eclipse stays for, sometimes even up to 6 months or a year. So these are very powerful shifts, changes happening. So you want to look at this shift, what's happening for your sign, for your rising sign or moon sign, depending on which eclipse it is. So this one is lunar eclipse, so we'll talk about the moon sign. So this energy, what we're going to talk about, this shift, this remedies that you want to do, so they will be applicable for the next 6 months to a year. So watch very carefully. Now, first of all, lunar eclipse happens on a full moon. Okay, a full moon means a lot of emotions. The moon is full. It's full of nectar, full of all the emotions are overflowing. So that's the nature of full moon. Now, full moon also represents endings of some sort. It's like the completion or the ending of a cycle. Something that you reap the benefits. You're getting the benefits of something you started long time ago, but also it represents ending. So we'll see what things might be ending or giving way to something new in your life, depending on the moon sign. So for lunar eclipse, we'll look at the moon sign. But remember, we're talking about the next 6 months. So this effect will be there for the next 6 months. This eclipse is very special. Basically, there is, first of all, Venus is debilitated with Ketu, and Venus is Sandhi also, right? So Venus is with Ketu, it's debilitated, it's Sandhi. That means Sandhi means it's at the edge of the sign. It is at 29 degrees of Virgo. Okay, so that's very, very sensitive, extremely difficult period for Venus. And so that means this eclipse for the next 6 months is going to be really difficult time for relationships, but this is perfect time to surrender and develop a relationship with the higher, higher consciousness, with God. And it's interesting what's happening, during the new moon. I talked about the new moon of September 2nd and 3rd. The Venus was exactly conjunct with Ketu. So that was a similar kind of energy. But now, at the time of eclipse, on September 17th and 18th, Venus is going to be Sandhi. That means changing signs at the edge of Virgo and about to enter Libra. So it's very weak, very sensitive. Venus, the planet of love, relationships, especially for women, very sensitive for your health also. So take extra care of your health. And now there's a couple of powerful things happening as well. Mercury and Sun are going to be there's a parivartan yoga, there's an exchange, because Mercury is in Leo and Sun is in Virgo, so they're exchanging places. So Mercury comes to Virgo, gets exalted. Okay, so those two houses get the strength. The next thing is Jupiter is going to be aspecting the Sun during this eclipse. So that's the saving grace, that's the blessings of the Guru. So that's the energy. So, but we'll discuss exactly what's happening, which nakshatra it's happening, and what sign. So first of all, this is taking place in the Virgo Pisces axis. So you got to look at that axis in your chart very closely. wherever Virgo Pisces axis is taking place, that's going to be the focus of your life for the next 6 months. It's going to be a big shift, big transit happening. Okay, that's first thing. Secondly, this eclipse is taking place in the nakshatra of Aja Ekpad. Okay, so the Aja Ekpad is the deity for this nakshatra. And I meant to say the nakshatra is Purvabhadrapad and the deity is Aja Ekpad. Aja Ekpad is a form of Shiva. Aja Ekpad is also a form of Agni. And Aja Ekpad represents Kundalini. Aja Ekpad is one-legged goat, the goat that's standing on one leg. And so that represents a yogi standing on one leg doing tapasya for many, many, many years and centuries. It's the energy is to do sadhana, deep spiritual work. And then this also presents eventually the person wants to stand on their own feet, meaning they want to be independent, self-reliant. And so they make progress. They work hard to establish themselves in the society, in their life. And then also Aja Ekpad, actually it's a two-faced deity. So there's two faces, so that could mean positive or negative. And so to give you example, Ramakrishna has had his moon in Lagna in Purvabhadrapad. Martin Luther King had his moon in the 11th house in Purvabhadrapad. O.J. Simpson had his moon in the 8th house in Purvabhadrapad. So these are different flavors of the same nakshatra, how the energy manifests. Okay? Because this is the nakshatra of tapasya. So Ramakrishna embodied that. This is the nakshatra of actually orator and speech and voicing your belief, what you believe in, and standing up for something. Literally, this is like one-legged goat. So standing up for something, some bigger cause. That's what MLK did. Martin Luther King and moon being in the 11th house made him famous. He could connect with the masses. A moon in the 11th house. And then O.J. Simpson, moon in the 8th house. So that was all the secretive stuff and the negative energy that manifested in his life. So that's the energy of this nakshatra. It's a very transformative nakshatra. So next 6 months you'll have, and we'll see which area of life you might see the transformation. But this is the nakshatra of internal purification, deep cleansing, deep purification, Kundalini Shakti, and then also Agni, the fire, burning and burning away the negative energy, burning away what's not needed, and being the full moon. This is the time for endings, cutting off what's not serving you, what's not needed anymore. The symbol of this nakshatra is one of the symbols is a sword. So literally it is cutting off. You'll see a lot of things being cut off in your life that are not serving you or your purpose. The second symbol of this nakshatra is the front legs of a funeral cart. So it's a very intense nakshatra, very, very powerful energy. It's not something to be taken lightly. So it literally means burning on the funeral cart, the Agni, the sword, and all those, and a fierce form of Shiva. Okay, so that's the energy. So this essentially represents physically and metaphorically, it is associated with like catabolic activity. So basically it breaks down, it burns down, it cuts away. This is the time of endings and powerful energy that'll give way to something new that you'll embrace over the next 6 months. So this is what's happening September 17th and 18th. In fact, it's going to be around 7:30 p.m. September 17th Pacific time in the US, and it'll be around 8 a.m. In India, 8 a.m. on September 18th in India. That's the exact moment of lunar eclipse. But as I mentioned, the effects will be for the next 6 months. So this is the time of ending and heightened emotions and intuition because it's taking place full moon. Moon is in Pisces. So that's the time of awakened energy, intuition, Kundalini, Purvabhadrapad energy. So now for this video, for lunar eclipse, you want to look at the moon sign, your Rashi, because it's all about the moon. And so let's begin. Before that, if you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe. Consider joining the courses. Level 1 beginners course, which is actually not just beginners, it's way advanced also. So you learn chart interpretation in level 1. We're starting the level 1 on September 25th. So consider joining at VedicAstrology.com. And also, if you want consultations, you can book online on the same website, VedicAstrology.com. So let's dive in and start with Aries Rashi. For Aries, this is what's happening. This eclipse is taking place in your 12th house. So basically, the Pisces and Virgo axis is your 6th house and 12th house. So let me explain what's happening. First of all, there will be some kind of endings related to your 12th house. Some kind of endings and some kind of change and transformation, big change and transformation, essentially awakening of Kundalini, awakening of energy, awakening of Shakti happening in your 12th house. That's where the moon is with Rahu in Purva Bhadrapad, in your 12th house. 12th house is all the hidden things and secrets, and 12th house is all the other planes of existence. So that's the biggest thing to focus on. Secondly, we have the 6th house. Of course, this is happening on this axis, 6th house, 12th house. Sun and Ketu are there, and Venus. Now, Venus is Sandhi, Venus is debilitated, Venus is with Ketu. So this means you'll have a difficult period, especially for relationships. So the next so this energy will stay. So even though eclipse will be on September 17th and 18th, energy will be there for the next 6 months. You want to watch this video, come back to it over the next 6 months. And so one thing that's happening is the 6th house is getting all the spiritual energy. Why do I say that? You see here, 6th house has Sun, which is your dharma, which is your, Sun is our soul. 6th house has Ketu, which is the deepest, the most spiritual planet. 6th house also has the trinal aspect of Jupiter. So you have these 3 most spiritual planets, Jupiter, Ketu, and Sun energy concentrated in the 6th house. On top of that, Venus is another guru as well. Shukracharya is sitting there, and Venus is debilitated. Debilitated gives you, a debilitated planet gives you humility. Okay, so that's the energy for the 6th house, that it's going to have a huge spiritual downpour. So anything related to 6th house will have will make spiritual progress. If not, there'll be endings and cutting off things. But why I say especially relationships may suffer is, or there could be ending of relationship, because the 7th Lord Venus is in the 6th house. So that's a classic. First of all, that's a classic, combination placement for ending of relationship of some sort. Not just that, Venus is with Ketu, it's Sandhi, that is edge of the sign, and Venus is debilitated. So really, really difficult energy for Venus, for your 7th Lord. So that's the area to focus on. This eclipse for you, for Aries Rashi, in fact, the moon sign Aries, will be very emotional for you. It's taking place in the 12th house, and it's the fourth Lord that is getting eclipsed. Okay, so the 4th house and the 12th house are involved, and 4th house and 12th house are the moksha sthana. It's the liberation. It's the this is like, you see, the energy is Kundalini and change and transformation and deep spiritual energy happening in the 4th, 8th, the moksha sthanas. So this will bring very deep awakening for you. Literally, this is like moksha. You'll get a glimpse of liberation. Secondly, you'll have a lot of spiritual focus on 6th house matters. That means one is you'll be very careful about your health. You will start some new health routines, and you'll be very, very, like, in very natural way, you'll take care of your health. More spiritual ways, like more about focusing on meditation rather than pills and rather than medicines. You'll focus on like naturopathy, or focus on herbs and healing, but more spiritual path. So that will become the way you want to heal yourself, is through spiritual path, spiritual awakening. You'll also be very very interested in helping other people. So spiritual, service to the humanity, service to other people will be the primary focus. Now in your job also, that if you have like 9 to 5 kind of a job, so 6th house represents that. And so you'll have in your job, you'll figure out, you'll notice that you're becoming more and more spiritual. You somehow will incorporate spirituality in your job. Otherwise, this may give you trouble. Okay, so that's the energy for the 6th house. And of course, the 4th house matters also. This may bring some kind of ending of the 4th house matters. So that means you may literally change residence. Okay, so the fourth lord is getting eclipsed. So that's what's happening for Aries Rashi, Aries moon sign. There's a lot happening. So we're combining, to summarize, a lot of spiritual focus on the sixth house, a lot of change and transformation, awakening and endings in the 12th house, and the fourth house matters. And especially the seventh house is getting the most affliction because the seventh lord is in a very sensitive, compromised position. And in terms of remedies, so the remedies for Aries Rashi people is all forms of donation. That's because eclipse is taking place in your 12th house, which is the house of giving away. And you can say losses also. So voluntary losses means donation. So giving away things, not just giving away things you don't need, but even precious things, the things that you like, enjoy, and love. Maybe give away a donation of those things. That'll be powerful for you. But in general, remedies for everybody is a lot of maybe Kundalini yoga, deep meditation and transformation and change. And especially for Aries, you can also do past life regression and awaken your sixth sense, basically focus on other planes of existence, get messages from your ancestors, sleep yoga, dream yoga. All of those things are going to be extremely powerful. Don't miss this opportunity. Absolutely fantastic period for you to dive deep and awaken the spiritual jewels and wisdom and gifts for you. And also, same caution during eclipse. Don't go out and look at the eclipse. Don't eat much during the eclipse. Don't eat anything, in fact, for a few hours at least. Then take a shower after the eclipse and do lots of chanting, lots of mantras during the eclipse. So that's for, and again, the effect will stay for 6 months to a year. Next is Taurus Rashi, Taurus moon sign. So if your moon is in Taurus, that means this eclipse is taking place in your 5th and 11th axis, 5th house and 11th house. In fact, the moon is in the 11th house in Pisces and sun is in Virgo, right? So, of course, this eclipse is in Purva Bhadrapad. That's the nakshatra that the moon is in. The deity for that is Aja Ekapad. Aja Ekapad is a one-legged goat. It's the form of Shiva. It's the form of Agni. It represents Kundalini. It represents change and transformation. It represents deep sadhana, like standing on one leg as a yogi for centuries. It represents deep cleansing. It's also two-faced, deity. So that means there could be positive aspects or negative, depending on how we are inclined. And then, as I mentioned in the introduction, also Ramakrishna had moon in Purva Bhadrapad in his Lagna, but MLK. So for Taurus Rashi, for you, Martin Luther King, get the inspiration from Martin Luther King, because he had his moon in 11th house in Purva Bhadrapad with Ajay Ekapad being the deity. So this is a powerful time for you to rise and shine and be a speaker, be a very powerful speaker. So overall, for Taurus Rashi, 5th house will have a huge downpour of spirituality. Why I say that? 5th house has sun there sitting, which is the soul. 5th house has Ketu there, which is the most spiritual and internalized planet. Then we have Venus, the Shukracharya. Then we have the trinal aspect of Jupiter. So you have the Jupiter's energy, you have Venus energy, you have Ketu, and you have Sun. But then also Sun and Mercury are exchanging signs. So Mercury comes back to Virgo and Sun goes to Leo. So there's exalted Mercury. And so that's the Mercury is knowledge. So absolutely fantastic period for the 5th house if you're on the spiritual path. So that means for your children, introduce them to spirituality. If they're on the spiritual path, amazing time, amazing, fantastic time. Same thing with your romantic relationships. If you guys are into spirituality, absolutely wonderful time. But if not, if you have nothing to do with spirituality, then this is going to be a very painful and difficult experience for you for the next 6 months to a year. And same thing with your children also. So if they're not doing anything spiritual in their life, introduce them to spirituality. Focus on spiritual things. This may also mean like ethical investment. That's the 5th house investments, right? So like stock market. But what's happening with the 11th house is the 11th house is having awakening. It's like literally Kundalini rising. It's the Aja Ekapad sitting in the 11th house. So you are going to shine in the social media, social circle. You'll make a lot of friends who are very spiritual, deeply spiritual. but be cautious because Rahu is there. So Moon and Rahu in the 11th house. In fact, this is an absolutely fantastic time for you to connect with the masses. Rahu will make you go places, will help you go places. And Moon will help you connect emotionally with the masses, but be careful of choosing your words very wisely, very carefully. That's what MLK did. Otherwise, you might end up in a difficult spot because it's the eclipse energy. Okay. And then also 11th house is our desires. And so Rahu being there, and it's a lunar eclipse, it's the full moon, you may have excessive desires, like insatiable desires. So that's the energy of Rahu being there. So be careful with that. That's one caution, is to keep your desires in check. Then the third house may also suffer because the third house is the moon, ruled by moon. It's Cancer. So the moon is getting eclipsed. So some issues with your younger siblings possible, but your sixth house is going to suffer a little bit because sixth house Lord Venus is in a very difficult position. Venus is debilitated. Venus is sitting 12th from itself, and Venus is with Ketu. And so you got to be careful so do not take any new loans. Do not, if there's any legal issues going on, just lay low, stay low. I mean, just don't try to take a lot of action. If you can postpone things, that'll be better. Sixth house is your job, also 9-to-5 job. So be careful with your job. There could be like some kind of misunderstandings possible. Okay, and then sixth house is your health also. You got to take extra care of your health consciously. Okay, so that's all what's happening. So fifth house, absolutely fantastic spiritual, downpour in your fifth house. Sixth house, take extra care of the sixth house. That could be the most impacted house. And then 11th house is giving you this massive awakening, and then connection with the masses, all of that happening in your 11th house. Next is Gemini Rashi. Mithun Rashi. That means if your moon is in Gemini. So the eclipse will be on September 17th evening in the US and September 18th morning in India. But the effect of the eclipse will be there for 6 months to a year. So this is not just a one-day event. The eclipses bring massive shift in our lives. So much so that, in fact, in old times, the kings, they used to have an astrologer specifically to tell them exactly when the eclipses will take place. So that was the main job of astrologers in old days, to tell about the eclipses. So they are so powerful. So let me explain what's happening for Gemini Rashi. First of all, eclipse will be in the Virgo Pisces axis. That means it's going to be your 4th house and your 10th house. That's going to be the focus. So I've written here, focus on balance between family life and career. 10th house is your career, 4th house is your family life. Okay, so that's the focus. Wherever Rahu Ketu are sitting, in general, in your chart, also in your natal chart, also that becomes the area of focus for your whole life. But now, because eclipse is taking place here, so the focus will be for the next 6 months to a year, your focus will be the 4th house and the 10th house. Now, what's the difference? What's happening? First of all, let's talk about the 4th house. Venus is there in the 4th house in Virgo. So that means Venus is debilitated. Secondly, Venus is going to be at 29 degrees. So that means Venus is Sandhi. So Venus is weak. Venus is at the edge of the sign. Thirdly, Venus is, of course, debilitated, but Venus is also your 5th lord sitting in the 4th house. So it becomes 12th from itself. That means very weak. It's kind of like the loss of that house. So your 5th house will suffer a little bit for Gemini. Your 5th house will suffer. We'll talk about that. Your 4th house will see a huge influx of spirituality. Why I say that? First of all, you have Sun there, that's the soul. Second, you have the Ketu there, that is the most spiritual planet. Third, you have the Shukracharya. Venus is another guru. But then we also have the blessings of Jupiter, Brihaspati from the 12th house because of the trinal aspect. So your 4th house has the energy of the Sun, 4th house has the energy of Ketu, energy of Venus, energy of Jupiter. Not just that, there's also Parivartan Yoga between the Sun and Mercury. There's exchange. Sun is in the sign of Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is in Leo, which is ruled by the Sun. So you can bring Sun and Moon, Mercury, exchange their places. So the Mercury gets exalted in the fourth house. So I cannot overemphasize how powerful this energy is for your fourth house. So essentially, you're going to see a lot of spiritual things connected with the fourth house. Okay, so what does that mean? Maybe your mother will do a lot of spiritual work. Maybe in your home environment, you can do, you might turn your home into a sanctuary, into an ashram, into a spiritual retreat kind of center. Okay, and that's what becomes one of the big remedies also for you for the next 6 months to a year. In your home, that's the biggest remedy I can give for Gemini Rashi is in your home, physical place of residence, organize some spiritual events, meditation, chanting, mantras, anything in the fourth house in your place of residence. Okay, and then that's what's happening in the fourth house, and then 10th house is where all the action is specifically related to Purva Bhadrapad. That's the nakshatra that the moon is in during the lunar eclipse, the full moon. Purva Bhadrapad is ruled by Aja Ekapad, who's the one-legged goat, is the form of Shiva. Aja Ekapad is the form of Agni, it's the Kundalini awakening. It's like, standing on one leg doing tapasya. So that means this is the time for the next 6 months to a year, you'll have to work really, really hard in your career. Okay, literally this could also mean actually change, because lunar eclipse, full moon, is the time of endings, completion of something that you started during the new moon and reaping the benefits, but then moving on. So there's a lot of breaking down of things during full moon. And so 10th house means you may literally change your job or your career. Your whole focus may shift, become very, very spiritual. Okay, so one of the remedies, another remedy for you for Gemini Rashi is help your co-workers. Do anything related to the 10th house. Help somebody in their career. Be a mentor, or just be a good employer if you are running a business or something. Be kind to your employees, to your co-workers, to your bosses, everybody, right? So that's the energy. Now, one caution that I mentioned earlier is also actually, so one before that, 10th house has Rahu also. Be careful with your words, but 10th house moon and Rahu with eclipse means you will be able to connect with your co-workers, with people at work in your business at a very deep emotional level. So this is the time for you to use that energy to connect with people at work, for projects, for getting a promotion, talking to your boss and things like that. But be careful that you choose your words very wisely, because there's Rahu sitting there. Then, as I mentioned earlier, your 5th house is going to have some possibly some difficulties, because the Lord of the 5th house, that's Venus, is sitting in the 4th house, so 12th from itself. So Venus is suffering. Venus is the most compromised planet in this combination, in this chart here. And so 5th house means be careful with dealing with your children, or your children may actually undergo some kind of change, transformation, some kind of even endings in their life. Same thing with your romantic relationships, that's 5th house. Make sure you do not take any risks in the stock market. Very, very sensitive period for you for the next 6 months to a year. You can keep coming back to this video and see a lot of things we're discussing. There's not just one thing. We're analyzing the whole chart. So spiritual, powerful energy for the 4th house matters. And also for real estate, investments like some kind of spiritual retreat kind of a property. Those are ideal investments for you. And then 5th house may suffer, but then your 10th house is where the awakening is happening. It's the Aja Ekapad, the deity. See, one of the symbols of this nakshatra, Purva Bhadrapad, is front legs of the funeral cot. So literally there could be like burning of the dead body with respect to your 10th house. That means literally, in simple words, maybe a change of career, change of business, change of job. So that's the energy for Gemini Rashi. And if you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe, and consider joining the courses. And also, if you want consultations based on your chart, we'll analyze specifically what's happening during this eclipse for the next 6 months to a year. You can book a consultation. Next is the sign of Cancer. This is Cancer Rashi, Cancer moon sign. Okay, so this video, because it's lunar eclipse, and that's all about the moon. So this video is based on the moon sign. So first of all, this eclipse is taking place in your third house and ninth house. So 3-9 axis. Those houses will be activated in different ways, very different ways. We'll talk about that. Secondly, of course, eclipse means lunar eclipse is full moon, so lots of emotions, emotional up and down, very sensitive period for the ninth house matters where the moon is sitting. Lunar eclipse is the, full moon is the time of endings. You reap the benefits of whatever you did over the past month, but then, or started during the new moon, but then full moon is when you shift, when you change. Now this lunar eclipse is taking place in the nakshatra of Purabhadrapada, which is ruled by Ekapad. The symbol is, one of the symbols is the front legs of the funeral cot. Okay, so there will be like literally the burning of the dead bodies, something related to the ninth house. Means maybe your dharma will shift. Maybe you'll follow a new path, a new spiritual path, or maybe you'll something to do with your higher education. You'll shift the direction of your higher education. One of the big remedies for you, Cancer, is go on a pilgrimage, long distance travel, spiritual travel. And then secondly, be a guru, share your wisdom. See, the ninth house is where the action is taking place, the Kundalini awakening, that's Ajay Ekpath. So literally you'll rise and shine as a guru. So share your wisdom freely with others. That's the best remedy. So now what's happening with the third house? See, third house will have a huge downpour of spiritual energy. Why? Because first of all, sun is there. Sun is the soul. Ketu is there, which is the most spiritual planet. Venus is the Shukracharya, another guru of the demons. And then we have Jupiter is trine. So Jupiter is sending energy, blessings. The guru, Brihaspati, is having influence on the third house as well. So all these four planets, Sun, Ketu, Venus, and Jupiter, very powerful spiritual energy. So you'll see a spiritual downpour, spiritual awakening with respect to your third house matters. And that means maybe your siblings, younger siblings may turn spiritual, or you may develop more spiritual connection with them. Your communication, your marketing, your sales, those will have a very spiritual foundation, big spiritual message. Short distance travels, travel to local temples and things, travel to, short distance, meaning you can go to fairs or you can go organize some things in your city, in your neighborhood also, that can have some kind of spiritual foundation. So, and the ninth house will be very sensitive. That's where, the change transformation happens. So sensitive time for your father, but also for yourself, because your Lagna Lord is under eclipse. This is a very sensitive, very important for you to stay focused and not be too emotional. Your Lagna Lord is getting eclipsed, and you're a Cancer, Rashi anyway. Moon in Cancer means very, very emotional energy, and so that's what's happening for Cancer Rashi. Now, one caution is that your fourth house may actually suffer. In fact, fourth house may suffer the most among all these houses, among the 12 houses. Why? Because the fourth lord is Venus. Fourth house is Libra, right? If you see here, fourth house it says, and sign is Libra, number 7. Libra is ruled by Venus, and Venus is sitting in Virgo. So first of all, the fourth lord Venus is debilitating. Secondly, fourth house lord is sitting in the 12th from itself. That means it's the loss of that house. So loss of the fourth house Karakas. Then the fourth lord is also sitting with Ketu. So it's the endings and cutting off. So and it's Sandhi. That means at the edge of the sign, it's very, very weak. So the fourth lord is extremely weak. Fourth house may suffer quite a bit. So that means something to do with your mother. Maybe your home environment may be difficult, or not a good time for real estate investments for you if you were considering. So wait until this eclipse energy is through, but that could be even 6 months from now, right? So keep coming back to this video, and it'll be, this lunar eclipse energy will be applicable for the next 6 months, if not more. So that's for the sign of Cancer. Next is the sign of Leo. Leo Rashi. That means the moon sign is Leo. Then this section is for you. So this lunar eclipse will be on September 17th evening in the US, and September 18th morning in India. But that's just the day of eclipse. The energy will be felt for the next 6 months to a year. So you can keep coming back to this video. This is applicable for the next 6 months to a year. It's very, very important. See, eclipses were So important that the kings used to have a personal astrologer just to tell them about the eclipses, so they don't start their journey during eclipse. It was so important. Journey mean, go to war, or usually it's about going on a war. And so full moon, lunar eclipse means full moon. It's a lot of emotional energy, a lot of overflow of emotions. So be careful. And then full moon lunar eclipse means endings of some sort. So we'll discuss what that means for your eighth house. So this eclipse is taking place in your second house and eighth house axis, meaning the Sun, Ketu are in the second house, and Moon and Rahu are in the eighth house. So the second house and eighth house will be the focus for the next 6 months to a year. We'll discuss what that means. There's also an exchange between the Sun and Mercury here. Mercury is in Leo, Sun is in Virgo, so they're in each other's signs. So that strengthens both the houses, the first house and the second house. Now, let me explain exactly how this is set up. First of all, the second house will have huge downpour of spiritual energy. Why I say that? Because Sun is sitting there. First of all, Sun is our soul. Second, Ketu is there. Ketu is the most spiritual planet. Then we have Shukracharya, Venus, the guru of the demons, is there. And then also the Jupiter, Brihaspati, guru of the gods, has a trinal aspect on the second house. And then, of course, we have the exchange of Mercury and the Sun. So you have the energy of the Sun, Ketu, Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter, all these 5 amazing, wonderful planets. So second house will have huge potential for spiritual upliftment, maybe for ethical investments to grow your family wealth. Okay, and this is the time to really go full, strength on sattvic diet. That's the second house. The food that we eat, that will become sattvic and very dharmic and very spiritual food that you eat. Your speech. I cannot overemphasize how important, how powerful this period is for the next 6 months to a year for you to become a speaker. That the speech, the words will come from a very deep place, a very spiritual place. And so I gave these examples in the intro section. Watch the intro section. Also, Ramakrishna had his moon in Purvabhadrapad. MLK Martin Luther King had his moon in Purvabhadrapad, and O.J. Simpson. So you have to see what's happening. What is the moon afflicted in your chart? That will dictate the energy. But overall, this is the eclipse that is ruled by Aja Ekpad. Aja Ekpad is the one-legged goat. Is the form of Shiva, fierce form of Shiva. It's the form of Agni. It represents Kundalini. It's the one leg, like a yogi standing on one leg, 1 foot, for centuries, doing tapasya, doing sadhana. This is a very intense nakshatra. Okay, so this will help you stand, literally on a one leg, or do tapasya sadhana related to the eighth house matters. So you will have this urge to figure out the secrets of the universe, and that becomes a remedy also for you, because this whole action is taking place in the eighth house where Moon and Rahu are, in nakshatra of Purvabhadrapad. And so remedy is go deep into esoteric subject studies, start studying Jyotish maybe. Second thing about the eighth house is it's the excretion, letting go. Let go of things, let go of people, let go of your desires, let go of everything in your life, then you'll get back 100 times. Okay, so that's the energy. So you will have deep spiritual transformation and awakening. I say that because eighth house is about deep spiritual transformation, and that is completely activated. There may be losses and endings because eighth house, as I said, is the excretion. So you got to let go of a lot of things, but a lot of spiritual focus on the second house. And one other thing is important factor to consider is your third house. Things related to the third house may suffer. And again, this video applicable for the next 6 months to a year. So third house means maybe difficult period for your siblings or for your relationship with your siblings. Third house also means communication, marketing, sales. So be careful because the third lord is Venus. It is Sandhi, meaning at the edge of the sign at 29 degrees Virgo. Secondly, it is debilitated in Virgo. Thirdly, it's with Ketu. Fourthly, it's sitting in the 12th from itself. That weakens the house. So the third house is very weak in the chart. For the next 6 months to a year, take care of these things. Take care of your communication. And in terms of remedies, as I mentioned, let go of things and maybe study some esoteric sciences, energy healing, or Jyotish, even literally, or any of these hidden jewels. So that's for the Leo Rashi. Next is Virgo Rashi, Virgo moon sign. So this video, lunar eclipse, is all about the moon. And so it's the full moon. And so there's going to be a lot of emotions, emotional ups and downs, that the moon is full of nectar. And then full moon, lunar eclipse means some sort of endings. Okay, so this is taking place in your 7th house, this especially the moon with Rahu. So there could be some shift in your relationship, or there could be awakening. So we'll discuss that. Now, this eclipse is taking place in the nakshatra Pura Bhadrapad, which is ruled by Aj Ekapad, the one-legged goat, the form of Shiva, is the form of Agni. It represents Kundalini. It represents change and transformation. It is the tapasya, standing on one leg, like a yogi for centuries, doing your sadhana, doing your mantras, doing your penance, and literally standing on your feet. So your spouse, your partner, may actually find some good good foundation for their career or for their life in general. And this is a lot of internal purification. So your relationship may get purified. Your relationship may actually undergo a lot of change. Like you may burn, because Aja Ekpad, or the Pura Bhadrapad, the symbol is also front legs of the funeral cart. So that means literally you'll burn off the things that are not working out in your relationship. The negative energy will be burned off, and you'll have this wonderful, amazing, powerful spiritual relationship with your partner. If they're not inclined to spiritual transformation, then this may literally end the relationship, right? So you've got to be very, very spiritual in terms of your partnerships with other people. The first house has the Sun and Ketu and Venus. They're very powerful spiritual energy. It's a huge spiritual downpour happening in your first house. And as I said, the energy of the eclipse stays for the next 6 months to a year. And so you yourself, your personality, your being will undergo a change. Literally, you're going to burn your own, like your dead body, and then reawaken. It's like the phoenix rising. So this is the second chance, the second birth that you're going to have. And another symbol of this nakshatra is also sword. So sword means cutting off again. So you literally cut off your old self, and you'll rediscover yourself. And I said a lot of spiritual energy because Sun is sitting there. Sun is our soul. Ketu is sitting there. Ketu is the most spiritual planet. Venus is sitting there as Shukracharya. He's the guru of the demons. And then we have the trinal aspect of Jupiter. Okay, so Jupiter is the guru, the Brihaspati, guru of the gods, is directly aspecting your lagna. At the same time, there's an exchange between the Sun and the Mercury. So Mercury is sitting in Leo, ruled by Sun, and Sun is sitting in Virgo, ruled by Mercury. So you can exchange their place. So you can bring Mercury, the lagna lord, in your lagna, will be exalted. Okay, so absolutely, I cannot overemphasize how powerful this time is for you to awaken and rise and shine and rediscover yourself, your personality, and rise, like Phoenix. Now, one of the other things to keep in mind is Venus is compromised here. Venus is the planet, the most compromised for everybody, but that will impact different houses, different areas of life, depending on which house Venus rules in your specific chart. So in your chart, Virgo Rashi, Venus is the second house ruler, sitting in the 12th, sitting in the first house. That means 12th from itself. So there could be losses related to the second house. That means maybe speech, maybe food. You may not be eating well, or something to do with your family wealth. You may literally lose some of the family wealth, or you may spend a lot of money. And so that's the energy. Why we say second house is afflicted? Because the lord of the second house, the sign is Virgo, Libra, and it's ruled by Venus. So the lord is Venus, and Venus is compromised. Venus is at Sandhi. That means at the edge of the sign, it's 29 degrees Virgo. Then Venus is debilitated. Then Venus is with Ketu. Right, so all of those things happening, so that will impact your second house, but completely fantastic period for your first house. A lot of spiritual energy, and as I mentioned, this Kundalini awakening, that is Aja Ekpad, is happening in your 7th house. So you can do Kundalini yoga literally with your partner, and then or any kind of like twisting of the spine. But this is a sensitive period. And the entire focus is the first house and the 7th house. That means because that's where Rahu Ketu are. So yourself and others, that's the whole focus for the next 6 months to a year. And I've written here financial issues also, because the 11th lord, that's the moon, is getting eclipsed. So the remedy for that is you can actually give donation to spiritual places or priests or temples like that. So that's a powerful remedy for you. And I've written self-doubt also because first house has Ketu and Sun with Ketu. So that means literally your self, that is Sun, is getting the shadow from Ketu. So there could be self-doubts, but at the end, you have such spiritual downpour, huge spiritual energy in your first house that you'll rediscover yourself. You'll sort of have a spiritual awakening of some sort. Next is Libra Rashi, the moon sign. So this video, we're talking based on the moon sign, because the lunar eclipse. The lunar eclipse means the full moon. And this is taking place in the Virgo Pisces axis. Okay. And for Libra, Rashi, Libra moon, this is your 6th house and 12th house. So that is the axis. So this lunar eclipse taking place on September 17th evening in the US and September 18th in morning in India. But the effects will be for the next 6 months to a year. So that means your 6th house and 12th house will be activated for the next 6 months to a year. So now let's see what's happening. First of all, full moon lunar eclipse means a lot of emotions. Secondly, lunar eclipse represents some kind of endings. It's the completion of a cycle. Something, you reap the benefits and then you move on to something new. Benefits of something you started during the new moon, right? So that half-month cycle is getting over. Now, this eclipse is taking place in nakshatra of Purabhadrapad, and then Purabhadrapad. The deity of Purabhadrapad is Aja Ekpad. Aja Ekpad is the one-legged goat. It's the form of Shiva, form of Rudra. It's the form of Agni also. It represents Kundalini. It represents a lot of change and transformation. It represents deep tapasya, deep sadhana, as in standing on one leg and doing your mantras for centuries, like a yogi, literally. So that's the energy of this nakshatra. Okay, and then also internal purification. So those are the themes for this. So let's see what's happening with the 6th house and the 12th house. So 6th house first, Moon and Rahu there. So you'll have some sort of awakening because it's the Kundalini, it's the Aja Ekapad, it's the Purabhadrapad energy in the 6th house. And so there will be some kind of awakening in terms of your job, like you may awaken to your true passion or something, right? So, and then focus on your health also. Health will be one of the key areas to focus on. You may actually ignore some things. Don't do that. You may have tendency to ignore. That's Rahu. So there could be some illusion also. So get checked up, but in general, focus on your health. And then there's a huge downpour of spiritual energy in your 12th house, because that's where Sun, Ketu, Venus are sitting. And then Venus is Sandhi. Venus is at the edge of the sign. And Mercury and Sun are exchanging signs. They are in a Parivartan Yoga. That means you can bring Mercury in the 12th house and Sun in the 11th house. So you have the energy of Mercury, Sun, Ketu, and Venus. And not just that, then Jupiter is also trine. So you have the energy of the Guru, the Brihaspati also. So 12th house is activated, 8th house has Jupiter is activated. So your Moksha Sthana is activated. Absolutely powerful time for you to do lots of meditation, past life regression, all the 12th house matters that I say in all my videos. Do hypnotherapy, energy healing, any kind of beyond three-dimensional existence, any kind of work you do, that will be really fantastic for you. Excellent remedy for that. Now, for Libra specifically, one caution is that your Lagna Lord is compromised. Okay, so this eclipse energy for the next 6 months to a year, your Lagna Lord, first of all, is Venus. It's sitting in the 12th house. So Lagna Lord sitting in the 12th means loss of that house, so loss of the first house. So you may feel like lack of confidence and things like so. Your ego may get hurt. It's a possibility. And I say weak because Venus is weak because, first of all, Venus sitting in the 12th house, the Lagna Lord in the 12th is weak. It's the loss of the Lagna, loss of the self. Secondly, Venus is with Ketu. Thirdly, Venus is debilitated. And fourthly, Venus is Sandhi. That means at the edge of the sign. So very, very sensitive. Venus is most afflicted in the chart right now on that day. And so take care of yourself, your body. That's all your first house matters. So in other words, your first house may suffer a little bit over the next 6 months to a year. And I've written here, actually, you may also change jobs, or there may be ending of a job or something, shift in your career, because the fourth Lord, Moon, that's getting eclipsed in the 6th house. 10th Lord Moon, I mean, Cancer, the 10th house. Okay. So that's for Libra Rashi. Next is Scorpio Rashi, Scorpio moon sign. So this video is based on the moon sign, not the sun, not the Lagna. So the full moon, that's lunar eclipse, is taking place on September 17th evening in the US, September 18th morning in India. Now that's the day of eclipse, but the energy of the eclipse stays for the next 6 months to a year. So you can keep coming back to this video to see more details. And so this eclipse is taking place in the Virgo Pisces axis, or you can say Pisces Virgo axis. So for Scorpio Rashi, your 5th house and your 11th house are completely activated. We'll discuss what that means. Next is this full moon lunar eclipse taking place in Purabhadrapad, nakshatra of Purabhadrapad, and the deity is Aj Ekpad. That's the one-legged goat. This is the form of Shiva, fierce form of Shiva. It's like a tapasvi, the yogi standing on one leg for centuries doing tapasya, doing sadhana. That's the energy of this eclipse. It's the change and transformation. Aj Ekpad represents Agni also. It's a form of Agni. Aj Ekpad represents Kundalini. Aj Ekpad represents also, it's like a two-faced creature. So there could be positive things or challenging things depending on placement and how spiritually inclined you are. But the idea is deep transformation, internal purification. Okay. And one of the symbols of this nakshatra is the front part of funeral card. So literally there will be some endings with respect to the 5th house. So and so that's what's happening now. Your 5th house and 11th house are activated. So 5th house has Moon and Rahu. That's where the eclipse is. So regarding that house, 5th house, you'll see deep awakening, like Kundalini awakening. So you'll become more spiritual with your children, or your children may become more spiritual. Same thing with your romantic partner. Same thing with your investments also, like you'll do more spiritual investments, ethical investments. That's going to be the focus shift in you. Then 11th house is where you have the huge downpour of spiritual energy, because see, 11th house has the sun there, which is our soul. 11th house is Ketu, which is the most spiritual planet. And then 11th house is Shukracharya, that's the guru of the demons. Not just that, 11th house also has trinal energy of Venus. I'm sorry, the trinal aspect of Jupiter. Okay. So the guru, the Brihaspati, is also looking at the 11th house. So 11th house has huge spiritual energy. That means, first of all, you can develop spiritual friendships. Secondly, you can, your desires will become more sattvic, more dharmic, more spiritually grounded. That's the 11th house. But this is a really powerful time for you to reach out to the masses, maybe start some webinars or be on the social media. You're spreading the dharma, spreading the spiritual message. Okay. So the 11th house will grow a lot. But then there could be like ending of romantic partnerships, or ending of some kind of endings in your children's life also possible. Now, the 11th house is all powerful, but at the same time, your 12th house will suffer a little bit, because 12th house is Libra, that's ruled by Venus, and Venus is very, very afflicted in this chart. So the next 6 months to a year, be careful with your relationships. And be careful with dealing with foreigners, and be very sensitive. If you travel abroad, be very careful. Those are the cautions. Okay. And I say Venus is deeply afflicted because Venus is the 12th lord, sign of Libra, sitting in the 11th house. That means 12th from itself. That means the laws of that house. That is the 12th house. Venus is with Ketu. That means cutting off. Venus is debilitated that in Virgo. That means not super strong. Venus is Sandhi also. Sandhi means edge of the sign. So 29 degrees Virgo. So it's not very stable. It's not very strong. It's not going to be able to give you fantastic results. So that's why the 12th house will suffer a little bit. So if you have any projects in the foreign countries, be careful about those as well. So that's for the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio Rashi, Scorpio moon sign. Next is the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius Rashi, that means the moon sign. So this lunar eclipse is taking place on evening of September 17th in the US and morning of September 18th in India. And this is taking place, and now that's specific day that it's taking place, but then the energy of the eclipse stays for the next 6 months to a year. So it's a very transformative period. This eclipse will be taking place in your 4th house and 10th house axis. So the Pisces and Virgo axis is 4th house and 10th house. So that will be the focus area for you for the next 6 months to a year. So we'll explain, we'll discuss what that means. And first, this eclipse is taking place in Purabhadrapad Nakshatra. Purabhadrapad, one of the symbols is the front legs of a funeral cart. So literally, this would mean death of something, you know, some idea, some things that are not serving you. And lunar eclipse, the full moon, anyway, and all full moons are kind of, they represent some kind of endings. It's like you finish off with the previous cycle that you started with at the new moon. So that's happening. Now, Aj Ekpad is the deity for Purabhadrapad. So that's the deity is Aj Ekpad. Aj Ekpad is a one-legged goat. It's the fierce form of Shiva. It's the form of Agni. It's the Kundalini awakening. It's change and transformation. It's literally the spiritual awakening. And the one leg represents like a yogi standing on one leg, 1 foot, and doing tapasya sadhana for centuries, for years and centuries. And also there is this Aj Ekpad is supposed, they say it's like a two-faced deity. So two faces, meaning there could be positive aspect or some difficult, challenging aspect as well. And then another symbol of this nakshatra is a sword, which means there will be some cutting off. So your 4th house will see all of those changes. There'll be literally spiritual awakening, because 4th house is our inner happiness, and this eclipse taking place there will bring you face to face to what really makes you happy from within. It's a very powerful energy you'll see. So 4th house will have all the change and transformation. One of the big remedies for you is to organize retreats and meditation or chanting or any spiritual work in your home, in your residence. Invite your friends. That's a key remedy for you. Now, that's the 4th house. At the same time, 10th house is having huge downpour of spiritual energy. Why I say that? Because there is Sun sitting there, then there's Ketu, the most spiritual planet. Sun is the soul. Venus is the Shukracharya, the guru of the demons. And then you have Jupiter also sitting in the 6th house, having the trinal aspect on the 10th house. So 10th house has massive energy. That means at the same time, there is also Sun and Mercury exchange. Sun is in the Mercury sign of Virgo. Mercury is in Sun's sign of Leo. So you can exchange their position. So that means that Mercury comes to the 10th house and it's exalted. So absolutely fantastic period for your career. It'll expand, it'll have lots of new ideas, but make sure you incorporate lots of spirituality, spiritual belief, spiritual work, or more ethical at least. So those, the more spiritual things you do, and literally you could change your career if it's not so spiritually focused, you could start doing something spiritual, and that will help you. So the next 6 months to a year, you may establish yourself. And this is a good period to ask for favors from the authorities. Okay. And now, because of the Sun and Mercury exchange, this makes it very powerful. So a lot of positive things for your career. The area of caution is the 11th house, because the 11th lord is Venus, and Venus is sitting in the 12th from itself, that is in the 10th house. That means it's weak. And the loss of the house, the 12th house is the house of losses. So the loss of the 11th house, Karakas. Secondly, Venus is Sandhi, that means edge of the sign, 29 degrees Virgo, so makes it weak. Thirdly, Venus is with Ketu. Ketu is the planet of detachments. And fourth, of course, Venus is debilitated. So those are massive afflictions for Venus, and Venus being your 11th lord. So that means there will be difficult phase with respect to friends and your desires. You may see that the desires are not getting fulfilled. Your relationship online, social media, or just friend circle could be difficult. Okay, and now your 9th house is getting a boost as well because of the Parivartan Yoga, the exchange between the Mercury and the Sun. So 9th house gets a lot of strength, good time for pilgrimage, good time to focus on higher dharma, good time to be a leader, be a teacher. That's the 9th house. or we can, essentially you can spend a lot of times with your Sangha, with your spiritual brothers and sisters, or spend more time in the temples, literally. So that's activated. And in terms of more specific remedies, you can help your co-workers become more spiritual. Maybe you organize some meditation sessions at work, or you invite somebody to speak about spiritual things, spiritual discussions in their 10th house. Don't be shy, don't be afraid of bringing spirituality at your work, because that is the message for this lunar eclipse for you, at least for the next 6 months to a year. Next is Capricorn Rashi, Capricorn moon sign. So this lunar eclipse, this is the full moon taking place on the evening of September 17th in the US and morning of September 18th in India. Now that's the day of eclipse, but the energy remains for the next 6 months to a year. So you can come back to this video, watch this again. These effects will be there. You'll feel those energies for the next 6 months to a year. So this eclipse for Capricorn Rashi is taking place in your 3rd house and 9th house axis. So that axis is activated very powerfully. And even in the natal chart, we see where Rahu Ketu are placed, and that becomes kind of like the focus of your life, because Rahu Ketu are even more powerful than the sun and the moon, because they eclipse the sun and the moon. So, but during the transit also, you see where Rahu Ketu are, and what's that axis, what 2 houses are being impacted. So the whole focus will be around those 2 houses. We'll discuss that. Now this eclipse is taking place in the nakshatra of Purva Bhadrapad. Purva Bhadrapad is ruled by the deities Aja Ekpad. That's a one-legged goat. Okay, that's kind of like, it's a fierce form of Shiva. It's a form of Agni, the fire god, as well. It represents Kundalini. It represents that one, standing on one leg, doing a tapasya, doing your sadhana. That's the real meaning. It's like a yogi standing for thousands of years doing their tapasya. And then also it represents that people, it will help you stand on your feet, be independent. But there's a lot of internal purification, cleansing, transformation. That's the energy of Aja Ekpat. And that's in your 3rd house. That means 3rd house is the house of awakening. That 3rd house represents your skills. So literally, you could learn some deep esoteric skills during this period. 3rd house is our communication. So be careful in your written communication, especially 3rd house, because 3rd house represents our hands also. Okay. And with respect to your younger siblings also, there could be issues, miscommunication, misunderstanding, but deeply spiritual, a lot of spiritual energy around your 3rd house. At the same time, the 9th house has a lot of spiritual, downpour of energy, because we have the sun there, which is your soul. We have Ketu, the most spiritual planet. We have Venus, which is Shukracharya, who is the guru of the demons. And then at the same time, you have the trinal aspect of Jupiter on your 9th house. Okay. That means the 9th house has the energy of Sun, Ketu, Venus, Jupiter. These are, the most spiritual planets. And so rise and shine like a leader, like a guru. Share your wisdom. That's the best remedy for Capricorn Rashi. Now, there is an area that may suffer, and that is your 10th house. Okay, so 10th house may suffer. That's because the Venus, which is the ruler of the 10th house, Libra, is sitting in the 9th house, 12th from itself. That means that house may suffer. It's the loss of the 12th, loss of the 10th house. Secondly, Venus is debilitated in Virgo. Thirdly, Venus is with Ketu, which is the planet of detachment. And finally, Venus is Sandhi. Sandhi means it's the edge of the sign, 29 degrees. So Venus is extremely weak for everybody, but it will impact different areas of life. So for you, for example, weak Venus means career may be compromised. So there could be ending in career, or you may change your shift, your career. But fantastic period for higher wisdom, for going on a pilgrimage. Okay, and then that's the energy for Capricorn Rashi. And there could also be change in a relationship, maybe ending of some sort of relationship, because the moon is the 7th lord. Okay, so the 7th lord is getting eclipsed, and that's a very powerful eclipse. And then also there could be changes and shifts for children, because Venus is the Lord. Venus is Sandhi. Venus is changing signs. So for the next 6 months to a year, you may see a lot of changes with respect to your children, changes especially in your relationship and your career. So lots of areas are being impacted by this eclipse, because the Sun, Ketu, Venus together in Virgo. And that's when the eclipse is taking place. Yeah. So that's for the Capricorn Rashi. Next is Aquarius, Aquarius Rashi, Aquarius moon sign. This video is based on the moon sign because we're talking about the lunar eclipse, which is the full moon. So that lunar eclipse is going to be taking place on the Virgo Pisces axis in the evening of September 17th in the US and morning of September 18th in India. Now that's the day of eclipse, but the energy of eclipse will be applicable for the next 6 months to a year. So eclipses are extremely powerful, so powerful that the kings in the old times, they used to have a personal astrologer just to tell them when eclipse will be there so that they don't start their journey, for war or defending. So that's the power of eclipses. Now, Aquarius Rashi, this eclipse is taking place in your 2nd and 8th axis, meaning 2nd house and 8th house. That's where Rahu Ketu are located. And this, so we'll talk about those 2 houses in detail. And it's taking place in the nakshatra Purabhadrapad. Purabhadrapad, the symbol is the front legs of the funeral cot. So something with that kind of energy will be, in your 2nd house. And that means some kind of endings. Full moon, especially lunar eclipse, is a period of endings and giving way to something new. So something to do with the 2nd house, there may be endings, meaning change in the way you manage your financial wealth, your family wealth. You may change your diet, you may change the way you speak, but this is a powerful time to connect with people through your speech if you choose your words wisely. Okay. So Ajay Ekpad is the deity, and it's also a fierce form of Shiva. It's a form of Agni or the fire god. It's also Kundalini, change, transformation, internal purification. And that's in your 2nd house, all of that energy. At the same time, your 8th house has huge spiritual downpour of energy, because 8th house has Sun there, which is our soul. 8th house has Ketu, which is the most spiritual planet. 8th house has Venus, which is the Shukracharya, the guru of the demons. And then 8th house also has the aspect of Jupiter sitting in the 4th house. The trinal aspect of Jupiter is there. So 8th house becomes extremely powerful, extremely, lot of spiritual energy. That means perfect time for you to start learning Jyotish maybe, or any other esoteric sciences. Go deep into the secrets of universe. Who am I? This is the fantastic. So you will actually get answers to your to your questions during this eclipse. So for the next 6 months to a year, deep spiritual awakening, spiritual transformation. And then also this means kind of like, as I said, a shift in the way you manage your financial wealth. And also, this is going to be very transformative period for your relationships because of the exchange of Sun and Mercury there. And one caution is the area that may actually have difficult results is the 9th house. That's because the 9th Lord Venus is sitting in the 8th house. That means 12th from itself. So that is never good. Secondly, Venus is debilitated. Thirdly, Venus is with Ketu. And fourth, we don't know it's actually Sandhi. So we don't know, like, Venus is not settled yet. Venus has not shifted to the next sign. Venus is still at the edge of the sign. So the results may be kind of unpredictable, but it's very weak. So the Venus is the most afflicted planet in this chart. And that means your 9th house will be compromised. So maybe connection with your father could be difficult. Your father may have some obstacles. The spiritual path, you may have some doubts or things related to your spiritual path. So one of the remedies you can do is pilgrimage, that is for 9th house, long distance travels. Second is donation, letting go. Letting go is the theme for you. That's the 8th house. Your 8th house is so powerful and completely activated during this time. So for the next 6 months to a year, those are the recommendations or remedies for you for Aquarius Rashi. Next is Pisces Rashi. So Pisces Rashi, Pisces moon sign. This is the lunar eclipse. That means full moon. That's going to take place on the evening of September 17th in US and morning September 18th in India. And this eclipse is taking place on the Pisces Virgo axis. So this is taking place in your first house, but that is where the moon is placed, your Rashi. So among the 12 signs, in fact, Pisces will feel the energy most strongly among all the 12 signs. Of course, it depends on your whole natal chart. You have to look at all the planets, but your moon in Pisces means you will feel this eclipse really, really like powerful transformation will be there for you. That's the first house, eclipse taking in the first house, self-transformation. And so this eclipse is taking place in Purvabhadrapad Nakshatra, and the deity for that is Aj Ekapad. Aj Ekapad is the one form, so that energy will be in your first house. Okay, Aj Ekapad is the form of Shiva. It's Rudra, very fierce form of Shiva. It's the form of Agni, also the fire god. It represents Kundalini and change and transformation and internal purification. All those things will apply to you very deeply, directly, because it's the first house we're talking about. So your personality, yourself, who you are, discover the purpose of your life. All those things, questions will be answered. Aj Ekpad, for Purvabhadrapad, one of the symbols is the front legs of the funeral cart. So literally, there could be like ending of some sort. Lunar eclipse means endings. You may actually end your old self and rediscover yourself, redefine yourself, like the phoenix rising. So that's the energy. One of the remedies is do lots of Kundalini yoga, literally, or just any kind of focusing on the spine, the energy at the base of the spine, and then rising that energy. So lots of meditations on Kundalini yoga online you can check out. So that's for the first house. That's where Moon and Rahu are. At the same time, Sun, Ketu, Venus are in the 7th house. So this is a lot of spiritual energy concentrated in your 7th house. So you'll see this eclipse, to summarize, there's a lot of transformation, awakening of the first house. There's a lot of spiritual upliftment for the 7th house. That's because you have the Sun sitting in the 7th house. That's our soul. You have Ketu sitting in the 7th house. That's the most spiritual planet. You have Venus sitting there, which is the planet of the Shukracharya. That's the guru of the demons. And then at the same time, you also have trinal aspect of Jupiter on the 7th house. So that's the guru, the Brihaspati, the guru of the gods. So lots and lots of massive spiritual energy in the 7th house. So great time for you to do some spiritual work with your partner, with your spouse. And at the same time, there's also exchange between Sun and Mercury. Mercury is in Leo, ruled by Sun, and Sun is in Virgo, ruled by Mercury. And so you can exchange their places. So basically, then Mercury comes in the 7th house, it gets exalted. So 7th house is very, very powerful. If you have a spiritual relationship with your spouse, that's fantastic. If not, if there's no spiritual foundation at all, then this may be a very difficult period. So again, this energy of the eclipse will remain for the next 6 months to a year. Okay. And one other thing is, there's one planet that is deeply afflicted during this eclipse, and that is Venus, because Venus is the lord of your 8th house. First of all, the 8th lord is usually not a good planet. On top of that, the 8th lord is sitting in the 7th house, that is 12th from itself. So that is the loss of the 8th house matters. Thirdly, the Venus itself is debilitated. The 8th lord is debilitated. Fourthly, Venus is with Ketu. And then finally, Venus is Sandhi. That means it is at the edge of the sign, 29 degrees of Virgo. It's not very stable. It cannot give you very strong results. So the 8th house matters will suffer. That means maybe some issues with inheritance, maybe some issues with the shared resources. So be careful on those fronts. But one of the key remedies to do things related to the 8th house, that is study some esoteric subjects, astrology, yoga, Ayurveda. Secondly, do very deep meditation. Go very, very deep into the secrets of the universe, discovering who you are, energy healing, all of that. Okay, so that's the results for Pisces Rashi. So this was the impact. This is the prediction for all the 12 signs, and this video is based on the moon sign, the Rashi, because it's the lunar eclipse, which is the full moon, a lot of emotional up and down, a very powerful eclipse where there's the symbol of death, symbol of endings, symbol of change and transformation, awakening, Kundalini, Agni, the fire god, the sword, the cutting away, cutting off what's not needed, a fierce form of Rudra. So all of that is happening. And so make use of this energy. It'll be applicable for the next 6 months to a year. Give me feedback. If you have any comments, please share with me. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and if you like the content. And if you want a consultation, you can check out, you can book it online, VedicAstrology.com. Also, courses, you can see various courses going on right now. If you want to learn, go deeper, you can join some courses. May this eclipse bring a lot of spiritual upliftment for all of us, and and maybe receive the blessings of the 9 planets. Thanks for watching. Thank you for your time. I'll see you in the next video. Namaste.